people are actually saying, oh, they did really well, you want to give them a call, which is the best form of advertising.
Welcome to a new episode of Most Memorable Journeys. My guest today is a very interesting lady. She has been around the world a few times. She traveled as a child a lot because of her upbringing in the hotel industry. And of course, she still travels for her job. When you travel once, you can never stop traveling. That is, it goes into your blood. You start having airplane kerosene in your blood flow. So I think that's what happened to Becky Mullins as well. Becky Mullins is a model, an ex-model, and she is a PR and event organizer. And I think we'll just take it from there. Welcome to Most Memorable Journeys, Becky.
Oh, thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you for asking me.
It's a huge pleasure to talk to you because I don't know you well. And I think we're going to find out a lot of stuff during this time here. So, Becky, I asked the question, everybody at the beginning, when were you on a plane the first time?
Oh, goodness. As a baby, actually, I was quite fortunate. My parents travelled, a lot of my friends. I remember being at school and being really jealous that my friends were going to holiday camps in the UK. Why are we going to all these holidays? But now looking back, I think how privileged I was, really. Yeah. So from very, very young age, baby, I think.
So you obviously don't remember that first flight, but so you traveled around. Isn't that funny? Because, most people would say, oh, holiday camp in England, who wants to go in? So isn't it interesting that we are always kind of wanting the thing that we don't have?
I know, exactly. No, I was just going to say, it just seems so fun that they were going to these places, which now I look at and think, oh, God, I can't think of anything worse, with these theme parks and water rides. And, I was like, I want to go there.
I know, and lots of kids in one room and smelly feet. And I don't know. So, but you were telling me that your father worked for Baron Forte. I was a tour guide when I was young, and I remember working for a few weeks in Sardinia. And I think there was a Forte village.
Yeah, I've stayed there. It's the Forte village. Yeah.
So that's part of the company.
Yeah. So Trusthouse Forte was a huge company. It was owned by Lord and Lady Forte. They founded it. They went on to own the Little Chef in the UK. I'm not sure whether they was abroad. Lily White's, the sports shop at Piccadilly, Happy Eater. It was a huge, huge corporate company. My dad had two brothers that were valets at the Grosvenor House on Park Lane. They were his older brothers. So my dad got into the job as age 16, and he actually stayed till he retired. He was there years. And what actually happened from that is he formed, he was very good at his job, and he formed a relationship, and he ended up becoming, he was obviously still working in the hotel, but becoming very good friends with Lord and Lady Forte and their personal valets at their private residence. So yeah, they became my dad became sort of almost like an extended part of their family.
How amazing. How amazing when you think in today's world, that somebody, first of all, it must have been a very big opportunity for him to be able to do this at such a young age. And on the other hand, he paid back by being faithful and by being loyal to somebody who had given him an opportunity. That doesn't happen so much anymore in today's world.
I think, to be honest with you, I think they were a lovely Italian family. I mean, in my experience as a child, every single Christmas, without fail, they used to lay on a big Christmas party at the Grosvenor House for every staff member and their children. And we'd go, and it'd be in the great ballroom, and we'd have dinner. Then there'd be a Santa Claus, and you'd go and you'd get the most amazing, not these cheap presents. You'd get the most amazing gift, every child. And it was all free. And that's what they did for their employees. I mean, they were, my dad, I think it's give and take. Being an employer now, I think if you're good to your staff, you get that loyalty, you get that respect back. And not only did they do that, they then did an adult dinner dance with a band, again, free for every single employee at that hotel, which is unheard of really now. There's not many companies that still look after their staff like that. And, sadly, when I was about 21, I lost my brother. And I always remember Lord Forte ringing up. They paid for my mum, dad, and me and my sister to go on this cruise and then stay in one of their hotels in Athens so that we could all grieve together as a family. I mean, that is such, they were such beautiful people. Sadly, they're both gone now. But yeah, it was, we got the opportunity to travel because my dad got excellent rates, or sometimes they would give stuff to employees, for their service, or, my dad was there 60 years. So, we did go to the Sandy Lane in Barbados when they owned that, and so many beautiful hotels. The Forte Village that you mentioned, we've been there. And yeah, those opportunities were through my dad's job. So we kind of grew up in that industry.
Unbelievable. I mean, I'm sorry about your brother, but it's amazing what they did for you, how they understood that you needed to grieve and that they organized that for you. And you went to Athens. You were I'm in Cyprus, so you were in Greece. Did you enjoy Athens? Do you remember?
I do remember. I remember it was one of the hottest days. And of course, there's quite a lot of walking in Athens, isn't there? And I just remember we had to keep stopping and getting, refreshment stops because it was so hot. And I think where it's quite, there's quite a lot of buildings and sites in Athens, isn't there? And so it was
there
just
is, and a lot of stones.
Yeah, exactly. The humidity. I always remember us just being like, oh my goodness, this is so hot. And of course, when you're on a cruise, you have a day, the little boat takes you to the shore. You have your day of excursions and then you get back on the boat. So it's not like you can think, oh, let's go home and we'll come out again tomorrow. That day to get cramming all the
It's now or never. Yeah.
So yeah, no, I do remember it being extremely hot.
So you must have like a whole book of memories or a whole pile of memories just from actually traveling with your parents, and you weren't even grown up by that time. So you became a model. How did you become a model?
So just fell into it. I mean, I'm very tall. I was very skinny. My mum cursed me. She said at 40 that I would put on weight, and she was right. It piled on. It used to be a tweet what I like, but yeah. So I sort of travelled. I was in Hong Kong and Chicago, and did a job in Israel. So yeah, no places. I mean, Israel was a place I probably wouldn't have booked to go, if I'm honest. But it was a place, obviously, I got the opportunity to see through work, which was great. I have this thing where I've got this little checklist. I think, oh, I haven't done that part yet. I mean, I haven't really done Canada and that kind of area and some of the States. And I'm thinking, right, well, I need to get a little bit more travel over that area in the next few years.
We do that. I sometimes go back to places where I have been before, and I think I shouldn't do that. I should go to places where I haven't been. But, sometimes it's somebody we know, or sometimes it's a good place that we like. So I agree with you. I can highly recommend Canada. If you haven't, I took my kids 3-4 years ago. I was there as a tour guide, but then 4 years ago, we just flew to Calgary and rented a car and drove through the parks to Vancouver. It's amazing.
I haven't done anything like that. I mean, when I was growing up, we had all the hotel opportunities. One thing I should mention is, so Lord and Lady Forte had a son called Rocco, who now owns Brown's Hotel, which is just along from Claridge's. And he was a really big runner. So he formed a running club, the Forte Running Club, which my dad is a marathon runner. He became part of. So there was another opportunity to travel there because the wives and children got to go. And my dad did the New York Marathon, the Boston. He was there when all that drama went on with, the bomb that went off. I mean, he was lucky we was not involved in that. But, he's done marathons. We did the Rome Marathon and we got to go with all the Forte group. So become like a little group. So, yeah, just travelled extensively everywhere, really. I mean, yeah, just...
Did you do photographs or did you do runway modeling or did you do both?
I loved Hong Kong. I mean, I did go there. I have got friends that are still in Hong Kong. I mean, I was there before it went back to the Chinese. So when I was there, it was a British colony. In actual fact, I was there in 96 and it kind of went back following year. And we did actually see Chris Patton. They were doing, you could see they were getting it ready for the big celebrations for it going back to China. But yeah, I loved Hong Kong. I would definitely would go back. Although I have spoken to friends that are still there and they said it's slightly different now. It's not British. You know, there's a lot more rules and a lot more, obviously they're a little bit more conservative with how they live, aren't they? So, but yeah, no, it was great, Hong Kong. I loved it. And I was young and I was...
Yes, of course. When we are young, things are different. Because it's funny that you're saying that because my daughter did an internship in Hong Kong. She went to a Lausanne hotel school and she did a 6-month internship. And we went to visit her in 2016. And I was actually talking to her today about big cities because big cities are tiring. When you get a little older, it's not the same anymore. When you're 25 and you can run around like, there is no end. Big cities are fun, but later on in life, maybe the first couple of days are fun, but then you get fed up. I get fed up with big cities now.
Yeah, no. I mean, I do still like, it's funny. I love going city breaks is one of my favorite actually because I just love it, and especially being in London, it's so easy for us to kind of just fly to, I don't know, Barcelona or Seville or wherever and do a little weekend, and that's kind of enough, isn't it? Yeah, I don't think I could do a week in those places.
A week in New York, sort of. No, not anymore.
I know. So yeah, but yeah, it is a little bit more exhausting.
You told me before we started recording that your mom is French, so you must know France quite well.
She's like half French. So when we was small, my parents, we had a place near Fréjus, which is down in the south. So we used to travel like loads. My mum was a bit hippie, really. I mean, when I think back, they bought this old van and renovated it. So there used to be me and my sister and brother, and we'd all pile into this van and we'd take a couple of days driving down. And it was always very exciting because we'd get on the ferry at Dover at like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. And then we'd arrive in France. Then we'd spend a couple of days just sort of traveling down through France. And then they sort of bought a place in the Dordogne, which is in the countryside, which as we got older, they was like, oh, you lot don't want to come here anymore. I mean, now I would absolutely love if they had that place. I mean, it was like picture postcards, stone. They completely renovated it. There was big old fireplaces that someone had painted white paint over. My mum and dad brought it back to the original brickwork. And at that time in that area, I mean, I'm 50 this year, I'm going back when I'm sort of 8 or 9. There wasn't really British tourists. And it was quite funny because the little town had this little waterfall fountain in the middle of it. And you'd see all the old Frenchmen, with the flat cap and their little coffees. And we'd come in this van and we'd be exhausted by that point. So me and my sisters and brothers would have our legs hanging out the window and we'd have the British number plate. And they'd all sort of stop, put their coffee cup down, scratch their heads and go, oh la la, crazy English.
The hippies have arrived.
We bought this, honest to God, if you first looked at it, you think, oh my God, you're mad buying that house. But my mum and dad had a vision and they did make the vision. But, growing up down there, it was opposite the house was a farm, and the farmer's wife, they could speak better English than what we could French as a child, because in Europe, its languages are promoted a lot faster. We're a bit lazy in England. We don't really push children to study another language. So, but we'd all, we'd play for hours in the French countryside, not really sort of, broken French, broken English, but had the best time of my life, really growing up in that beautiful environment was lovely.
It really sounds like fun. And I can see that van in front of me, and just being free, free and wild and young. Your parents must have been amazing people.
They were very, I'm lucky. At the time when you're a child, you don't realise it, do you? But looking back, I did. I was very, very lucky. Travelled extensively. I mean, even to have a house in France. I mean, you're going back sort of 40 years. It's, all my friends used to think, oh my God, they're like really rich. We wasn't. My mum and dad just worked really, really hard. My dad was in an industry where he would get looked after by people, And so we just was lucky. They were just very sensible, invested in this little rundown little house and made it into something really beautiful.
Amazing. And the thing you said about the English not learning languages is actually our fault, because we accommodate you. We learn English, so the world speaks English. So English speaking people don't need to learn any other languages, because wherever they go, they will find somebody they can communicate with.
In October, I was in Cannes. So one of my clients is quite a well-known actor, and he's just turned his hand to directing, and he won all the Cannes Short Film Awards. So we went out to Cannes, and it was lovely because of obviously the way the weather is at the moment. I mean, it was beautiful weather. We were sitting in a beach club, having the most beautiful lunches right on the seafront. And I mean, normally end of October, you wouldn't be able to do that in France. But I was really trying, because my big dream is I would like to end up in the south of France. I just love France. It's a place I never tire of. And I love sort of just everything about it. So I've been kind of doing like an online class in my French. And I was trying to speak French, and I was trying to order, and they kept answering me in English. And I was like, in the end, I said to the guy, I'm trying to learn my French. He said, okay. You order the lunch in French, I had to ask him, please let me speak French, because I really want to practice. I'm here. I want to practice, and I want to know if I'm saying it right, if you understand me, because of course it's not the same when you're learning it online, is it? You're just sort of hearing it. I wanted to sort of, be in the field as such and practice it. But yeah, it's so true what you say.
I absolutely agree. And I had the very same experience when I came to Cyprus the first time, because Cyprus was a British colony and everybody here speaks English. And I had been in Greece for 2 summers, and I had learned Greek because I was in Skiathos in the north and nobody spoke English. So I had to learn, that's the best way to learn. And I came here and I wanted to use my Greek, and nobody spoke to me in Greek. I was blonde, I looked foreign. As soon as you look foreign, people speak to you in English. And I had exactly the same reaction like you. Please speak to me in Greek, because because I know, I can if I want to. So it's true. But then on the other hand, people mean well, they want to be, it's kind of a difficult situation, because they want you to feel good and help you. And then you don't appreciate it.
I know it is. So when I go away, if I'm in France and I go very, very tanned, because obviously just that real Mediterranean skin. And I can sometimes have the other way. I remember me and my daughter, because she's very like me, we was in the bank. They were chatting away to us because they thought we were French, because we looked French, the dark hair, slicked back, very, very tanned. We can, when I've got a suntan, I can look quite sort of Frenchy looking.
Mediterranean, yeah. So tell me now, after all this fun traveling as a young person and modeling, you do PR and you organize events. Some of those events sound glamorous.
Yeah, we started doing sort of fashion events, because obviously that was my background. Everyone will tell you there isn't people in fashion. They struggle financially. It's very hard. So we launched a corporate division, which is quite funny because it's gone full circle now, because now we're doing a lot of corporate events as well, where they want it in big hotels. So I'm doing events in like the Grosvenor and the Dorchester Hotel, where I know well. Yeah, we do PR, and then through that, I'm always a believer, if I'm managing a brand or somebody for PR, the world is a big place. So rather than just trying to promote them in the UK, I always try to think on a bigger platform globally. So we've managed to ascertain partnerships with people that do what I do, but in other parts of the world, and us coming together so that their clients can take part in London and we can give them the London support, and my clients can take part in other countries as well. So that's meant, obviously, we've done a lot of work and a lot of shows in Milan and in Italy for Milan Fashion Week. I'm flying out to Paris at the end of the month. We're planning a show at the Eiffel Tower for Paris Fashion Week with a guy I work with who's got a company out there. We're in talks at the moment to do a big event in Dubai. So yeah, it's through work as well. That's great because I love traveling.
I can see that. I can see that you're my kind of girl. All this glamour and all this organizing is hard work. It's not what it seems. I mean, people often have a very wrong idea of what this is.
No, I mean, I did an event just recently, and it was a London event, and it was a big beauty conference, 2 days. But me and my team got there at 7:30 in the morning to make sure everything was ready because they was having a breakfast. It went on all day. They had a party that night. So we basically waited till the end because there was a few things that needed to be picked up after the party. So we ended up doing from 7:30 in the morning till like about 1:00 in the morning. So long days. And of course, in that day, you know, when they're doing the conference, you're not working and you think, oh, well, you're not working those hours. But that becomes long because you're standing there for 3 or 4 hours, you know, waiting for the next part that you have to do, you know. So it can be quite tiring and can be quite, but yeah, I mean, it is great. I mean, I do love piecing things together. But again, as you say, I mean, there comes a lot of with that, you know, when it's great when they happen, but we do also, unfortunately, have to deal with a lot of people have these big ideas, and then when it comes down to it, oh no, I haven't got the money. So
exactly. That's, you know, there's a lot of glamour sometimes without any financial backing or people, you know, it's not always what it seems, I think, in this world.
No, I mean, we're lucky, you know, it's just built up slowly. I mean, we're lucky that we're very sort of friendly. We're very professional, hands-on team. I mean, I've just had a call this morning for a huge event and it's come from word of mouth. That's great. People are actually saying, oh, they did really well. You want to give them a call, you know, which is the best form of advertising. But,
absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you said something else before about your father and about the employers. When you treat people well, people will treat you well.
Yeah, exactly. I think as well, I think people realize, you know, I have a conscience, which, you know, nowadays companies, big corporate companies, you know, it's difficult. You know, I think when I'm dealing with a client, I'm very involved. I'm very on the phone. Hey, what do you think about this? Okay, no, that's fine. We won't do that. What about this? You know, I'm involved with the whole process, and I think they appreciate that. So there's no doubt when it gets to that event that they've got everything they wanted because we've gone through every step of the way with them. But a lot of companies don't do that. So that's our kind of selling point, really, that we're very involved in the whole process and reassuring them, you know, if you are putting on a big event and you are spending a lot of money, you know, you don't just want someone to say, oh, I can do that. And then you don't hear from them until you see them at the event. You almost have to nurture that client and make them feel reassured that it's going to be okay and it's going to be everything that their vision is for that, you know, event. So, yeah, no, it's good. So that too has sort of led me to sort of traveling quite a bit as well, which is good.
This sounds like, you know, when I was a tour guide, people want to be taken by the hand and they want to be taken to the nicest places and they want to be taken to the nicest restaurants and they want to be given the best that they have paid for. And I think this is exactly what you're doing. And I like the way your company sounds. It sounds very grounded to me.
I do a lot of sort of self-help stuff in my private life, spiritual practices. I'm 8 years in recovery after a wild party in youth. So for me, my life is led on the rule of karma. That's just me, my personal life. I treat people how I want to be treated. I can't do anything which is going to leave me feeling, that I've done something wrong. I mean, I had it the other sweet shop. I literally went in the sweet shop and the guy gave me change of a £20 note and I'd only given him a £10 note. I had to go back in and tell him and be honest. That's very much how I live my life because, and I think doing all of that stuff, it kind of makes you quite grounded. I don't take anything for granted. We're all very grateful. Be grateful. November was very quiet for me. I had a lot of fear, but I have an inner faith. It'll pass. It'll be okay. And, I don't let that alter my behavior in a fear of desperation or, I've got to do this, I've got to do that, I'll do that to get money. I just ride the wave. And sure enough, December, we had a really busy Christmas. And now January, we've come back and it's like, wow, it's the first day back. And it was like all these things were coming in. I was like, oh my goodness, I can't cope with everything that's coming in. So
amazing. Yeah. I love that. I love the way you're the karma. I love the honesty because honesty always pays, and treating other people the way you want to be treated should be everybody's mantra, but it's not. Now, I have a question, Becky. What would be your dream event? Who would have to call you or send you an email and tell, hey, I want you to do that? What would it be? Do you know?
So basically, as I've gone deeper into my recovery and my spiritual practices, I'm really drawn towards everything well-being. So my big, it's on my manifestation board for this year. I would love to do a really beautiful retreat and possibly a women event retreat, where women can go and really work on themselves. Where would I like to do it? A place I've never ever been, so I might go and hate it, but one of my big destinations I'd love to go to is obviously India or Bali. Like, they're two places I haven't been and two places that I know are very, very spiritual. So my ideal event would be to do some big, well, not even big, but a lovely, beautiful wellness event. And that would be, I'd love to do a wellness event. That would be a good, I've kind of done everything else. I've done all the fashion weeks and we still do that. And that's my bread and butter. And we still do a lot of corporate. I'm dealing with 4 corporate already that we've got inquiries of just in the last 2 days. And obviously the corporates involve the big hotels, the ballrooms, the dinners. Yeah, if I could do one event area that I haven't done, and it's an area I'd like to go into, is wellness. And particularly women.
I will do some self-advertising here because I am a very good NLP practitioner and hypnotherapist. You could take me with you.
Yes, amazing. Definitely, 100%.
So when you start planning, include me.
Yes, I will, 100%. Yeah, no.
So that is fantastic. I think that also there is a lot of value in these events, especially women who appreciate, who are sometimes very tired, who work very hard, who also at a certain age sometimes realize that they didn't live enough, and not live enough. Maybe that sounds wrong, but they worked so hard that they forgot to look after themselves. And I think there is a lot of people out there who are actually very good potential clients.
Yeah, no, and it's interesting. Obviously, we met on the talk, the workshop that I did, and obviously talked a lot about my story. My story is, I had this beautiful upbringing, and then married this horrible man and left him for domestic violence. And it's funny, after that talk, 3 people reached out to me on Instagram and said, I'm a businesswoman, I'm going through the same thing with, and sometimes, when children are involved, you do lose yourself. I mean, I had to really look at it over Christmas. I work like a lunatic. I'm a mum. My mother's just got diagnosed with Alzheimer's. My father's looking after her. He's struggling now. They're both retired. So anytime I'm not working, I'm backwards and forwards. And I had to look at it over Christmas. I thought, I'm lost in all of this. Where is Becky? What does Becky want? And I'm lucky with my recovery, and having done a 12-step program, I'm able to pause and look at that stuff and think, right, okay. And I've had to put some boundaries in around some things, and, I am going to Paris at the end of the month. My friend I'm going to see, who we're doing the show together, he's also kind of very like me. And he's like, let's go and do a sound bath and just chill. And I'm like, amazing, let's do it. It's important for me to have time. And I think it's really to travel on your own as well sometimes, if you get the opportunity with work, because for me, I don't have time at all to just, do anything. So when I travel on my own, I love it. I'm in my hotel room, I sit, I read, I might do a meditation, and it's just that time to really regroup. And I think it is so important that we do. Women just take on so much. And I don't mean to sound really, I've got a boyfriend and he's lovely and he's really supportive, but women definitely cope with more than men. My boyfriend could not do everything that I do. I juggle so many plates, and as women, we just take all that on and we don't really complain about it, do we? It's like,
absolutely. Absolutely. And this is the thing about you telling your story, because there are so many Beckys in this world, and once you start telling your story, so many women actually speak out as well. And there is a thing about stories, we should all tell our stories, because your story could be somebody else's survival guide.
Yeah, I'm a great believer. I recently started doing a lot more empowerment speeches and talks and telling my story and doing a lot. And you know what? I used to hide behind it when I was doing something work. I didn't want to talk about that because in fear that they might think I'm not professional or I wasn't up to the job. But the reality of it is it actually shows strength of character. And sometimes we live in a world where, we never really praise ourselves and say, you know what, Becky, you've done really well there. We just we don't actually give ourselves any gratitude. And since I've been sort of doing all of this stuff, yes, loads of business women have reached out to me with similar, and asking for my advice. And B, it's made me feel even more grateful and even more grounded, because yes, I did have a beautiful upbringing. I did travel a lot. When I got married, it was horrendous. I had really bad domestic violence. I ended up homeless with 4 children. I battled my addiction and alcoholism, and then did all this work on myself, formed my company, and I'm doing well. Now, most people wouldn't get through all of that. So I think it is important to people to hear, because there might be someone that's going through that and thinking, my life's over, I can't do it, I've got children, my children were all under 12 and I still carried on, so it is possible. Fantastic. It's just about step by step.
Yes.
It's not instant. There was times when I'd wake up and I'd think, I just don't even want to get out of bed today. I've got these 4 kids and my kids were really badly damaged. So their behavior was atrocious. And just thinking, I can't do another day, but then just changing that mindset, right, come on, you can do this, get up, do this. I took time out with the kids. I continued to even learning things online that would benefit me when I was in a position to go back to work, all these little free courses that are sometimes on offer. And it benefited, and now all my kids have done amazing at school. And now we're in a position where, we're enjoying it.
Fantastic. And look at you now. I mean, this is the thing you see, and this is why it can be somebody else's survival guide. And I can tell you from my side, you've done a fantastic job in this podcast. I usually don't make them much longer than half an hour, 40 minutes. So it's been amazing talking to you. If you had one last tip for somebody who wants to do something like you, what would you tell them?
I think it's just networking, always networking and building up those contact books of venues, clients. A lot of my stuff is through people I've met or, people I've met at events or events I've done, being nice. People then want to work with you. Like all the hotels love working with us. So that's great. That would be my tip. Networking
and being kind and not arrogant.
Yes.
This has been fantastic, Becky Mullins. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for being on Most Memorable Journeys.
Thank you for asking me.
If you enjoy my podcast, please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. You will find all the information in the show notes.